Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're coming at you with a midweek update in the world of cannabis. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please just leave a like on it, as it really helps out my channel. And of course, if you want to learn how to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, subscribe below so that you don't miss any future videos. And there's plenty of content for you to go back, rewatch, and educate yourself with. I've tried to put all the news and facts in one place so you can watch episodes over time to learn about the evolution of the industry, identify top companies that you keep seeing pop up, and then take advantage whenever you feel ready if you wish to do so. And we're going to start with some sad news from Tom Engel sharing that President Joe Biden is touting his mass cannabis pardons in a speech commemorating the end of Black History Month, essentially giving himself a pat on the back for doing something that he talked about doing but actually hasn't done yet. So main quote from this: "Too many minorities are in prison for that," he said, even as his cannabis clemency move has not released a single person from behind bars. You can't make this shit up. But essentially highlighting all we get from the Dems, all talk, no action. Nothing surprising. Full link below if you wanted to read through it. But with that being the case, I found this link from Normal, as it is trying to make it easier for us to, get Biden to actually do something. Tell the White House to open pardon applications immediately. As now essentially 6 months later, the Department of Justice pardon website indicates that the application to obtain a pardon certificate are still unavailable. How inconvenient for the Americans that voted for campaign promises that these Dems have failed to keep. And so you can put your name and information here if you want to sign along and support this initiative. Obviously be beneficial. We've seen a lot of these links and we keep trying. Hopefully one day it does lead to, safe passing or getting some of these clemencies actually provided. All we can do is keep trying to sign these and hope for the best. But with that, Marijuana Moment highlights: Congress challenges Biden administration officials to provide evidence for positions on cannabis scheduling. And so looks like more political theater, but I guess this is all we can really ask for, as it seems Rep. Blumenauer again picking up the torch from where Rep. Ed Perlmutter left off, and trying to hold at least the administration accountable for things that they've said in the past. And so the congressman is currently seeking signatures from other lawmakers willing to sign on the letter by next Tuesday. Obviously makes a lot of sense, saying, hey, the discrepancy between federal and state laws, it's getting ridiculous. Start, keeping some of your promises. And so that's essentially all I'm going to share with this story. You can grab the link below if you wanted to go through, and I will update you if we see anything from it. Unlikely. But onto this one from DNBC. Wanted to share this as there was news that Cowen, who I believe was the provider of swaps for the ETF MSOS that invests in mostly US MSOs, has been purchased by TD Ameritrade, I think. And so for that reason, Cowen's no longer going to be their swap provider. And so people are asking, well, what's going to happen and how this could possibly affect the MSOS ETF going forward. Now, I do not recall MSOS specifically stating that they weren't losing their current swap provider a few weeks ago, but it's possible that I missed this, so I don't know. Just wanted to share. Thank you, Young Justin, for asking the question. Are they? We get an unconfirmed, think it's likely to be determined, but then Noah Hamman of Advisor Shares did respond. We are aware of the news about Cowen Research exiting the cannabis research space. Obviously, they'd have to be aware of it. Regardless of the implications on their swap business, we already have another swap provider in place and are working on establishing other relationships. So just figured I'd share this for what it's worth. Anyone that's interested and heard the news and wasn't sure necessarily what that could mean. And so with that, we got the first of the MSOs reporting their Q4. Green Thumb Industries reports fourth quarter and full year 2022 financial results. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to go through all the numbers. Just going to share the highlights, as I'm a news aggregate and certainly not qualified to try and dig much deeper, as I've tried to do in the past, just not my forte. But with that, highlights for the fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2022. Revenue of $259 million for the quarter, increased 6% year over year, but did decrease 1% sequentially from Q3, which is not ideal to see. We hoped that, New Jersey and some of the new markets coming on would provide more growth. Unfortunately, when you open a limited amount of stores, we don't see that. But doesn't mean that the floodgates can't open more in the future, as Illinois is supposed to be opening more, and we've got, lots on the go. Cash flow from operations of $70 million for this quarter. Cash at quarter end totaled $178 million. But unfortunately, it seems like their positive net income streak has come to an end, as Q4 saw a net loss of $51 million, or a negative 22 cents per share due to a goodwill impairment write-off. And so excluding that write-off, they would have had an adjusted net income of $12 million, or 5 cents a share. And so with that, highlights for the year end, though, gotta say it's pretty impressive. Again, another company, revenue of $1 billion, increased 14% year over year. So regardless, the facts on the ground are that Americans are voting for legal cannabis with their dollars, and a second company has now reached $1 billion in revenue. Cash flow from operations for the full year, $159 million, and a GAAP net income for the full year of $12 million, or 5 cents per share. And so despite having both hands tied behind their backs, like all the other MSOs, and what unfortunately seems like lawmakers and regulators in a lot of states doing everything they can to work against these MSOs, they're still managing to do some pretty impressive things, and it's only a matter of time until the floodgates do open. And so we will see more MSOs with their earnings coming up as we head into earnings week, which we love to see. But thank you, Jungle Java, for the summary, as well as Cresco Labs and Columbia Care mutually extend acquisition closing timeline from March 31st, 2023 to June 30th, 2023. And while we wish they would have been able to close it by the end of March, thank you, Andrew George, a source that I've shared in the past, who highlighted that if they were not able to close it by the end of this month, as they wanted to, that they would have 90 days of an extension. So at least they are announcing that, which is in line with what we've heard in the past, while at the same time Cresco to report their fourth quarter and full year 2022 financial results on March 16th. And so they'll be a little bit later in the month, and just a bit more if you didn't want to have to grab the link. Otherwise, you can grab the link below and read the whole story. Well, we've got this one from Seeking Alpha. Just wanted to share it if anyone is interested in the company Trulieve and wanted to learn more about it. Again, this is not advice. This is written by Alan Brockstein, CFA, who also happens to manage the website New Cannabis Ventures, which I do reference quite a bit. But he's a long-term investor in the space, and while Trulieve has gotten extremely cheap, and we're looking out to see how their Q4 is going to be and how they've integrated the harvest assets, could be a good read if you were interested in learning more about Trulieve. And so with that, wanted to bring some bear cases. This one from WeedStreet 420, just highlighting the good and the bad, because we obviously don't know, but we keep the faith because we understand that descheduling is the right thing to do, and that simple act will right so many of the past wrongs and a lot of the perceived wrongs as well. And so from Van McConnon, who helped write rules governing cannabis licensing in multiple states, well, how convenient for him to comment on this. But so this comes from Cannabis Benchmarks. MSOs are toast this year. Almost all of them were set up to keep raising money to build out infrastructure, and raising capital has become very difficult due to higher interest rates. Now keep in mind, it's only end of February. We're still 9 months left, but this is at least what someone in the industry wanted to share, and that's his take, so sharing that. While we've got this one from WeedStreet as well, sharing, here is why we will not see distressed assets in and M&A in the cannabis sector by Hauser Advisory. And so sharing this one as well, Mark Hauser seems to be the writer of this, so you can grab the full link if you wanted to read through it down here. Otherwise, you can read through his snippet here. But essentially, he gives a few reasons. Regulatory approval, obviously easier said than done a lot of the time, consideration, and liabilities keep building as Congress doesn't do their job and doesn't pass SAFE, making the lives harder for everyone in the cannabis industry, effectively discriminating against them while they use them to get votes. Sad story, but that is where we're at today. And so with that, MJ Biz Daily highlighting Utah medical cannabis sales up nearly 60% to $118.7 million in 2022. Not expecting much out of Utah, very small and medical only market, but love to see this as there's growth when people can get access to a safe and non-addictive medicinal alternative. Increased by 59% from 2021 to 2022, according to data published by the Utah Department of Health and Human Services Center for Medical Cannabis. Net medical cannabis sales for 2022 totaled $108.7 million, compared to $74.8 million in 2021, according to data published by the center. And so a bit more on here if you wanted to pause to read and learn more about Utah's market. But again, so much potential for growth, and love to see what happens when people have access to more than just pills for medicine. It's a beautiful thing. And so with that, from the Dales report, another sad example of the mindset we're seeing out of New York cannabis regulators, and the fact that they have a greater desire to tear everything down than to actually try and build up the industry that they're responsible for trying to build up. And so this new video, Chief Equity Officer, or in other words, I get to determine what's fair, and I get to discriminate based on what I believe in because I've been given the power of the State Cannabis Office, Damien Fagon, says the quiet part out loud in terms of throttling MSOs to raise up social equity licenses. Question: reverse corporate discrimination? That's exactly what equity is. It's reverse discrimination, especially in the Marxist context, and we just get to see this play out in real time in all the states that focus on equity. Or could it be a fair leveling of the playing field? I'd want to ask the social equity entrepreneurs in New York, New Jersey, and Illinois who've seen equity firsthand, which essentially just creates equal outcomes for everybody, not equal access to opportunity, the complete opposite of what they claim. But that's just what I think. I could be wrong. I don't think so, but let me know in the comments after you watch.
So let's get into this, right? Because we've seen 3 shops open up in New York City, specifically in one area of Manhattan, right? Lower Manhattan. Why zero in on that area?
Yeah, it's actually a really exciting, fact for us that they're all opening in that area because, if we had opened up dispensary license applications to the rest of the country and to large corporations, they also would have located there because of the foot traffic, because of the demographic.
Easy to say when you didn't allow it to happen.
NYU, there's just a lot of opportunity there for long-term profitability.
And so clearly the first reason is to stop the MSOs, not to provide equal access to opportunity for all the social equity entrepreneurs they got votes for.
And so because we started with equity, because we started with nonprofits, those businesses now get those lucrative locations to start their businesses. The advantages for being in that area of the city are tremendous long term for those businesses. And so we've got a Black-owned dispensary, we've got the Doe Fund, we've got Housing Works. So they'll capture that opportunity rather than the big companies.
Yeah, bragging about the 3 legal dispensaries in New York. while completely omitting the 1,500 illegal ones that are selling all the cannabis in New York. So it's been a fun experiment to watch. We're going to continue paying attention. But good news out in New York, at least, as again, it's not the state doing anything, but it's companies helping right the past wrongs. This Air Wellness, a cannabis operator in New York, spent Sunday clearing the records of people with past cannabis convictions at its Changing Legacies events. We love to see it. That's why we want to support these companies, and we want them to end up being successful in the long run. So full link in the description if you wanted to read this, but this was New Yorkers getting cannabis convictions cleared in Brooklyn. Love to see that, Air Wellness. Well, we've got some sad news out of Virginia. As MJ Biz Daily reports, Virginia's adult use cannabis market stalled indefinitely. Now, very sad to see is it's another example of lawmakers working against the people that voted for them as opposed to for them. But so a Democrat, then Governor Ralph Northam, signed a bill into law 2021 decriminalizing cannabis in Virginia, which was great. So no one's going to jail for possession. But at the same time, that just facilitates a black market and does not create a legal market to provide a safe product and collect legal dollars to go back to tax revenues. And so the new law was expected to see an adult use market finally start and launch January 1st, 2024. But imagine that. They signed this in 2021. Why wait this long? And so this is another example of just the facilitation of chaos from lawmakers by decriminalizing, but not following through and creating a legal adult use market where you can actually, create jobs, tax revenue, and all the good things we're seeing from other states. And so a lot to this. You can pause to read, obviously, the rest. But it seems like it was the governor who failed to do what he needed to do in order to actually get this set up and going on time. And so, unfortunately, seems like no path forward for now. At least Virginia does still have medical, and there are MSOs and other companies, providing medical there. But sad, because that would have been great to see that go to adult use sooner than later. And so with that, more stories from states. Thanks, Tom Engel, for sharing this one. As New Jersey lawmakers sent Governor Phil Murphy legislation to decouple state tax policy from the federal 280E provision. We love to see another effort, and it's gone to the governor's desk. I imagine it'll be signed into law, so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but thereby allowing cannabis companies to deduct business expenses in their state filings. This could be big, could help MSOs and all other businesses keep more profits, as they should be able to and should have been able to for a long time, but hopefully this gets implemented sooner than later. So we'll update you. Tom Engel shares the Minnesota Health and Human Services Committee approved a cannabis legalization bill, the sixth panel in the chamber to do so. So several more Senate and House hearings are coming up later this week, but Minnesota is on track and looks like they might get this done hopefully by April. Which is good to see. While Todd Harrison shares good news out of Missouri, one of the states to recently legalize in the election in 2022 and launched sooner than later because they're not focused on equity. They're focused on providing equal access to opportunity for people in the state. And Missouri court expunged over 7,500 cannabis records as passage of Amendment 3 kickstarted a process to expunge criminal records related to nonviolent cannabis offenses. So love to see it, Missouri. Great job seeing the courts work for the people as well, not the other way around, as it should be. And with that, Todd shares that Senator Schmidt is currently evaluating the Safe Banking Act and its potential application in Missouri and across the country. So another state that recently legalized for adult use, seeing the benefits already, and they're like, why are we keeping this 280E tax on these businesses? Why are we discriminating against them and not treating them like every other business in the country? Fair question, Senator Schmidt. Thank you for asking, and hopefully we'll see some fix in Missouri if Congress continues to not do their job, although they should. And so with that, out of Alaska, hundreds of previous cannabis-related convictions will be removed from state's court database. So again, love to see states working for the people. Some examples I'm happy to share. Beginning May 1st, cannabis possession convictions of about just under 800, it's a funny way to say it, of about just under 800 Alaska residents will be removed from CourtView, a public online database of court cases per an order from the Alaskan Supreme Court. And so more on this, you can pause to read or you can grab the link below. But again, just highlighting people getting their lives back as the states are righting the past wrongs and helping them out. And so with that, from Marijuana Moment, we got a study. CBD could reduce craving for nicotine and help tobacco smokers quit, study finds. But for whatever reason, the DEA and the FDA can't seem to deem there's any potential benefits of CBD. Unbelievable. But happy to share the data that doesn't lie, as researchers at Washington State University looked at the effects of the non-intoxicating cannabinoid on the metabolism of nicotine, the main additive component of tobacco. And so also federally funded study worth noting, should be taken more seriously. And the study published in the journal Chemical Research in Toxicology, I can't help but notice this ad, last month, showed that relatively low doses of CBD significantly inhibited a key enzyme associated with the processing of nicotine in the body, which could stave off cravings. Awesome finding. That's why we got to deschedule, so we can find a lot more of the medical benefits. And so nonetheless, you can pause to read if you wanted to learn more, or you can grab the link below. But moving along, as we've got a lot, Politico, this is an interesting story. Dodgy science, poor access, and high prices, the parallel medical world of medicinal cannabis in America. And so written by Nats Fertig, who I do feature, so I figured since it is a good article and worth sharing, that I would promote it on my page. But get this story. It's not necessarily what you'd expect out of a kid who's acting out, but before Jaden Carter turned 9, police were called 126 times to his school, home, and other locations to address his violent behavior. I had ribs out of place, my forehead cut open, a black eye, recalled Amy Carter, his mother. The situation got so dire that Child Protective Services encouraged Amy to sign her rights to Jaden away, easier thing to do than to right the past wrongs and deschedule cannabis, for fuck's sakes, a step that would allow the state to put him in permanent treatment. That was when, out of a sense of desperation, she decided to try medical cannabis. And wow, I mean, even reading this, I was surprised. The results Amy and Jaden say were remarkable. You don't hear enough about stories like this, but you should. My head was in a very dark place when I was younger, and I just can't remember anything, said Jaden, who's now 16 of the time before he used medical cannabis. But then with cannabis, it feels like I woke up one day and my soul fully went into my body. So, amazing testimony. Obviously, grab the full link below if you want to read the whole thing. It's an interesting read and definitely worth going through, just more stories that you're not used to hearing. But yeah, happy to share that because cannabis can help in many ways, and we just got to deschedule it and stop demonizing it so we can figure out the potential. And so last few ones, will the U.S. Supreme Court make cannabis legal? We don't know. It doesn't actually give us an answer. And so while we love to see this question asked, and we do love to see these quarterly write-ups that we get out of the National Law Review, it would be great to see something happen sooner than later. But this is sort of like my out of left field hope that one day would happen. What if we told you the United States Supreme Court would legalize medical cannabis? That the unlikely hero of the story was Clarence Thomas. Fuck, I hope one day he is. And that he would work with the most liberal justices to make it happen. Sometimes you don't know how high you can get until you really try on the next 30 for 30 highly legal. Like, I appreciate the humor, but this is a serious matter, trying to give many Americans their lives back and stop discrimination that has just been totally unnecessary. Hear us out. And no, we haven't been using the products as we write this. I hope not, but you've been leading us on for years with these potentially appealing articles. And so long story short, obviously grab the link below if you wanted to read through it all. It just explains how what Biden has said and how maybe over time Justice Thomas has, insinuated that they ought to right these past wrongs. But wouldn't that leave cannabis to the states? Probably, but not necessarily. It depends how the court rules. Of course, it'll always depend on what happens if it actually happens. So just wanted to share this, though, because it is an interesting read. Don't want to get your hopes up, but do hope this does happen one day. And so last story from Cannabis Business Conference, March 2023 is set to be a historic month for European cannabis. So do not forget this. While it sort of slid under the radar, good news, starting tomorrow, Malta's government will begin accepting applications for nonprofit cannabis clubs. And then on top of that, Malta is not the only nation set to experience a historic March. As every global cannabis observer already knows, lawmakers in Germany have worked very hard to make good on their coalition agreement component relating to legalizing cannabis for adult use and implementing a regulated adult use industry. That's supposed to be coming soon. Germany's health minister, Karl Lauterbach, made a formal presentation of a legalization plan back in October 2022 and has since lobbied the European Union for its essentially just paid the European Union for its permission to proceed with an official introduction of legalization measures. So they've been lobbying the EU to say, hey, can you guys back us on this? And then we'll see if all the dominoes in the rest of Europe do end up falling. And so we are looking out for this. And I will keep you all posted as the news comes in. But that is it for today's episode, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you got some value out of it. What did you think of the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, please just leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I will catch you on Sunday for This Week in Cannabis News. Have a great week, everybody.